All right. One of the fun things about cello playing, let's face it, there's a lot of them, is playing pizzicato. But, I don't know. There's some, if you just listen to live concerts or people playing on YouTube, there's some people who get more variety out of their pizzicato than others. And we probably want to be in the camp of people who can get a lot of variety. So let's just talk about ways that you can, when you see that passage marked pizzicato, that you might be able to give yourself more options than you previously thought were possible. I think one of the ways that comes to mind is to anchor on the side of the fingerboard and then to use either first or second finger to pluck the string in question. I don't like first finger. It's just a little bit shorter than second, of course. I prefer second. And second is just that extra length just gives you a little bit more leverage for greater velocity. But if you like first, that can certainly work. One of the quick questions, though, is do you really need to anchor all the time? If I go... If I don't have to anchor, I can get a little bit larger of a circle. Hopefully you can hear the difference. It's not huge. None of these differences are huge, but it is a difference. So your aim has to be good. You don't want to bump other strings, but I mean, that level of fine motor skill is nothing compared to some of the other fine motor skills that we do playing cello. So that won't take you very long. Another thing that when I'm not anchoring, I can put my thumb pretty close to the end of my second finger. And when I do that, I make the tip of my finger a little bit harder. So it's a little bit more like a pick. Not as hard sounding as a nail, rather than I can get just a little bit more pronunciation instantly on the front edge. It can also be a great way if you're starting to get a blister and you just take your thumb and you kind of cover up the area where you had been developing the blister, forcing you to pluck with a different spot on the finger. That can definitely get you more mileage in those times when you're doing a lot of pizzicato. Another type of pizzicato we should always consider is using the thumb. If I use my thumb, it's immediately a more resonant sound. I can get a much bigger sound with my thumb. Again, from a practical standpoint, if I start to get a blister anywhere, there's so much more surface area I can move and keep from actually getting the blister developing. Another thing is I can go deeper into the thumb. I can go down by the bone. As opposed to, and there's even a little bit more power still by the first knuckle in the thumb, the first joint, I should say, as the thing that makes contact with the string, especially if I'm doing chords. When I do anything that involves multiple strings, the side of the thumb has a lot of power and a lot of endurance, so it's not going to phase the thumb as much as it would some other fingers to try to use. So let's see, a couple other things about pizzicato. There are times that when we get a snapping sound, if we're playing Bartók and they're asking for the Bartók snap, why, that's one thing, of course, but there are times that we don't want the snap. So you move a little bit closer to the end of the fingerboard and you make sure that your release is exactly in the same plane that the bow would move. Of course, there's a chance of bumping the next string. But otherwise, if you make sure that you move exactly in the plane that your bow would move, you're much less likely to get that snap that we sometimes get. Of course, we want to keep our string action close to the fingerboard, and that can sometimes give us an unwanted snap. So we want to make sure our motion is very horizontal. The last thing is just when we do have our bow, if I'm having to hold my bow, if I can hold it all the way back in the interior of my hand so that it doesn't get in the way of fast pizzicato. It's very deep inside my hand, and now my fingers have a lot of flexibility. And then if I'm in some piece where the composer, the arranger wasn't as considerate as we'd like, and you have to go back and forth very quickly between arco and pizzicato, I might have to, near the end of a series of pizzicato, move my bow into playing position, but keep pizzicatoing. So I might have to do something like, and then I end up with this hold so that I can still pizzicato, but that next note being arco, there are situations where composers ask us to go back and forth very quickly. So I need to find some means by which I don't have to totally move my bow out of the way and then totally put it back and then totally put it away again. It takes too long. So those are some things to try with pizzicato. I think in some respects, spending a little bit more time with pizzicato can be just a great way to really make sure that the rhythm, the timing of when our left hand gets ready for a note to sound, it will help when the bow is playing as well. So you take certain passages that are marked arco and you practice them pizzicato as well, and it just kind of tidies up the coordination and just makes the rhythm of the left hand that much more solid. So for all these reasons, experimentation is the name of the game. Try seeing what kind of variety you can get in your practice of pizzicato. Have fun with it.